First Friday Art Talk live at lunch, hosted by myself, Chris Bates, and presented by Downtown Fort Collins. I am a local artist here in Fort Collins, specializing in murals, commissioned drawings, and paintings. Most recently, I've been partnering with local nonprofits during the pandemic to help raise money for some of the local causes. And you can learn more about me next month at the November Art Talk. This month, we're going to be featuring two local businesses, Bloom Floral Boutique and Pinot's Palettes Sip and Paint Studio. We're going to start off today with the Bloom Florist. So first up, we're going to be meeting with Brenna Freestone Gilbert. She's the owner of Bloom Floral Boutique. It is located at 153 North College Avenue. Brenna studied floral artistry in New York City, where she got to work with some of the world's premier floral designers. We're thrilled to have her back in Fort Collins in her hometown, where she designs at her studio in Bloom. You can find her there collaborating with her business partner and mother-in-law, Cindy Gilbert. Brenna specializes in interactive designs, custom experimentals, and installations that are made from living materials. Today, she will be walking us through her process of creating a sculptural arrangement using dried and fresh flowers and foliage. Without further ado, Brenna.
Hello, everyone. Brenna Freestone Gilbert here, and I am very excited to welcome you to Bloom. Sorry, I'll sink a little bit lower here. I'm very excited to work with you today. We will be focusing on dried materials because they last a little bit longer. So first, let's talk about our vessel. Usually when people paint an image or print their photography, the frame is the last thing that they deal with. Well, with floristry, we work a little bit backwards. Our vessel is our frame, and we have to start from there. So for example, if I were to use something like this amazing piece of driftwood, I would start from here, and it would look very different than if I were to use this ceramic low vessel. It would have a different shape, a different energy. Today, we will be focused on using this amazing vintage piece that I found here. Cindy, my partner, does most of the antiquing and finding a vintage amazing paraphernalia. She's got an amazing eye for it. So we'll be using this. It'll end up being something a little bit more classic, something that would fit into most any home pretty easily without looking too modern or too old-fashioned. So we will be using this. Generally, what I like to do, especially if it's in a ceramic piece like this, and you won't be seeing into it to look at the stems, which is a #1 for dried materials, is I would always use something ceramic because they get very messy inside and you don't want to see it. So we will use this ceramic piece, and I will be using some chicken wire to hold my stems in place. And it's a great way to make sure that they end up where I want them to. So what I'll start to do is I'll take this chicken wire. You can use cut up stems or some vine that you've twisted around, anything like that that will just create a framework for your stems. What I do is I'm creating a little egg shape out of my chicken wire. And then I just shove it right inside. Nothing gentle about that. And then you've got this great framework inside that you can work with. Okay, so we'll be working with our dried materials, as I've said before. And as with most paintings, you start with your broad strokes. So here we've got this amazing piece of kiwi vine that I found. It's all dried and curly and crusty and beautiful, and it just creates an amazing large brush stroke here to the top. The other thing that I love chicken wire for is once I get it where I want it to be, I can pinch the chicken wire around it and it stays right there, okay? And I don't have to worry about it falling out of place or futzing with it later. So now that I've got that big moment up there, I know I want something going big up this way. And I have this beautiful spout here where it would pour water if it were an actual jug. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this amaranth. This is a dried amaranth. Yes, you can eat this. It's a great ancient grain, as they call it. This hanging amaranth has this beautiful art to it. So I'm going to use that over here to kind of just insinuate some movement in this other direction. Okay? Now, another recommendation when you are working with dried materials is do it on hardwood, tile, outside, anywhere that you can easily clean up a mess, because it's going to be a complete mess by the time you are done. So we also have another piece of the amaranth. This is a much shorter piece, and it's going to create some really great texture up here and draw the whole piece together as we keep working. So now we've got our broad strokes in place. Let's focus a little bit on, say, our background color. So what we have here, this stuff you can find on any hike you have out in our lovely parks. Remember, do not forage from national parks, not okay. But if you know somebody who has some land and you have their permission to forage, please go ahead and do so. But don't do it without permission. You'll get in a lot of trouble. So this is some wild licorice. And as you can see, it's got these nasty little burrs, which are awful when you're on a hike and they get stuck in your socks or in your dog's fur. But they're absolutely gorgeous in this piece, creating texture and background movement. These aren't the star players, but they are the extras, the other people on the hill in the back of your painting. So as you can see, sometimes I'll cut a piece down, sometimes I won't. It just depends on how I want it to play with the others. Okay? There. All right. So I'm going to use quite a bit of this because it's going to be my main background image. And I just love those little burrs in the back. It creates such a beautiful baseline to work with. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now I've got a little bit of that movement happening. I've got some energy going on with those sprigs of licorice. Now we're going to move on to our rice. And this is something that you can't necessarily forage here unless you know somebody who has a rice paddy lying around. But this is something that I get from my floral wholesaler. They often use both dried and fresh, and so you can get those. There's plenty of places online that sell dried goods that you can find. eBay, Etsy, or just a good old-fashioned Google search. And so as you can see, some of it is taller and some of it is shorter, but it just creates such a wonderful energy here. And I love the sound of it. Okay. So again, I'm just going to find the places where I want that little bit of whimsy, that airy energy. It's not going to be everywhere. It's going to be where I just need that lightness. Now with flowers, You know, with painting, you can use your highlights and your lowlights to play with your light source and, you know, draw attention to different areas of your canvas. With flowers, we use our highlights and lowlights with color. So here we have some dried celosia. You might know it as coxcomb. This is a feather variety, so it's not that big brain that you might be used to seeing. This is a feather celosia. And as we start adding more items to this piece, you'll notice that there are going to be dark spots where you can't really see all of your textures. And so we will use this celosia to draw the eye and play with the light. And as you can see, I'm kind of placing my feathers in an interesting structure, and then I'll come back and I'll cut them to the same height. So I know when I stick this bunch in, this is my finished product, which is what I want to see. The other great thing with dried materials is you don't have to worry about watering them. In fact, it's frowned upon. Don't water your dried flowers. So you can forget about it, which I am prone to do. I usually forget to water my plants for a couple of weeks. And it's still going to look just as gorgeous as it was the day you made it. Okay. All right. Now, we also have some moments where we want to add something a little funky, something a little unique that you wouldn't necessarily see on a stem. These are preserved mushrooms. I believe these are the oyster mushrooms that grow like shelves on trees. And as you can see, they've been dyed a little bit, but they are preserved, and they're just a gorgeous texture and shape, and they just add such a level of intrigue. And these are just attached to a dowel. And again, you can get these from any dried floral purveyor. And so I want to just add a moment here. It's almost going to be a backdrop to this feather celosia that I have in here, to kind of just frame it a little bit so that we can see not only that beautiful color that the celosia brings in, but this amazing shape that pops with these oyster mushrooms. So we have our highlights, we've got some intrigue, we've got some energy here, which is falling into a place I don't want it to be. Okay, now we've got some lowlights. This is another variety of amaranth. So it's the same ancient grain that you see in this little piece, but it's a different variety. So it comes in this amazing burgundy. This is an upright variety. And so what this will do, this will throw a little bit of shadow into the areas where I want to continue to add interesting texture. Now, with dried arrangements, you want to think about where it's going to end up in your home. This piece will end up on like a side table in my entry. So I don't have to worry about finishing the back because it's not going to be visible. So I'm just focusing on the front. I just want my finished product up front. Here we have some straw flower, and this is just going to add a little pop wherever I want a little brightness. Okay, now this arrangement here is a little reminiscent of like some of the old Dutch masters work that you've probably seen, where it's always like, you know, there's a rotting apple or, you know, a skull in the background. It's a little bit darker, but it's still very organic in nature, very natural and flowing. Okay, and just kind of add a little bit of that. And then I'm going to add some more funk to really draw attention to my medium here, which is these gorgeous dried florals. Now this is a variety of leucodendron that has gone to seed. And then we have a variety of leucodendron that has not gone to seed yet. So slightly different, but it is the same species. I'm just going to use that to kind of pull the whole piece together. And then finally, I'm going to add a little bit more of a sweep up top to kind of get and play with my negative space, but also play with these amazing shapes that dried florals come with. Now this is a variety of poppy, and I also have another variety here that has the seeds still in it. You can hear it, it's like a little maraca. But I'm gonna be using these longer ones to kind of just play with my energy. And I think I'm pretty close to done. I'm feeling pretty happy with that. It speaks to me as though it's finished. And as you can see, I've got some amazing energy going up here, some energy coming down here. It's got highs and lows, shadows and highlights, and some textures. And as you can see, I've made a complete and total mess. So make sure you're in a good place that doesn't cause any problems. And that's it. It's pretty simple. You can see it tonight when you come by Bloom. We're showcasing some work by Johanna Muller tonight, but I'll also have this out and available. We'll be here till 9. Thank you, guys. Any questions?
We have one question for you, Brenna.
Okay.
You do custom arrangements for people,
Yes.
but do you also have pre-made arrangements that you're selling, and do you sell the raw materials for folks as well?
I do sell raw materials. That's, you can come in and just pick a stem of this and a stem of that, not a problem. I don't generally do pre-made arrangements, but we do have a few pre-made dried arrangements, little bouquets. But most everything that we do is custom, yes.
Awesome.
All right.
All right.
Thank you all so much. I hope to see you tonight.
Thanks a lot.
Yep.
All right. Next up, we've got Pinot's Palette Sip and Paint Studio. Pinot's Palette is located in downtown Fort Collins. Owners Kim and Tony Curtis have been operating the business near the corner of Mountain and Mason for the past 9 years. They love being part of the downtown and Fort Collins communities. And today we're going to feature local artist Morgan Lindquist. She'll be giving us a live painting demonstration. Morgan not only works at Pinot's and teaches art classes, but she also creates art that explores galaxies and things only seen in your imagination. She focuses on the ideas of self-love and brings it to life within her art. Take it away, Kim and Morgan.
Hello. Thank you for tuning in with us for this first night virtual gallery talk. Morgan will be walking you through the Peekaboo Kitty painting. Welcome, Morgan.
Hi, good morning, everyone. So welcome to the Pinot's Palette segment of the Art Talk presentation. I myself have been working on art for about 13 years now, and I've been here at Pinot's for just about 2 years now, and it's been absolutely amazing, and I really love it here. So I'm going to go over what a standard class looks like today and what you can expect from that. So when you do register for a Pinot's palette class, you will get, let's see if I can readjust a tiny bit here so you guys can see this. Perfect. Each time you come in and you register for a class, you come in and the seat is all ready for you. Each seat includes a canvas with an easel, the brushes that you will need for the painting, as well as a water cup, some paper towels, and our paint palette. So today I will be going over one of our take-home kits, which is the Peekaboo Kitty. I'm going to show that to you real quick here. This is a really fun one, and it's a small little canvas. So what I'm going to go ahead and start off with here is I'm going to take the top of the plate off of my palette here. I'm going to grab my big brush. I'm going to pick up 2 scoops of this light purple that I have here, along with a little scoop of this dark blue. And when we mix those together, it's going to create a nice violet color. So each painting here at Pinot's typically starts off with the background. So when I go ahead and mix this all up, we're going to go ahead and start mapping out where the background is going to be and where the pumpkin is going to go. Here at Pinot's, we use a lot of hand measurements to measure where things are going to wind up going. So I'm going to use 4 fingers today, and I'm going to line that up down here at the very bottom of my canvas and just do a tiny little dot right where the top of my pumpkin is going to go. From here, I'm just going to go ahead and connect with this purple and kind of arch it down in kind of a half circle shape, just to get that pumpkin nice and mapped out. And of course, we want to make sure that we go ahead and create a little oval shape right on top. That way we have a little place for our kitty to pop out. Now that we finished with mapping in the pumpkin, we're going to work on the background, which is just this nice little swirly motion, like so. I'm just doing these quick little swirls, and I'm just working with this violet color around the edges to make it darker. We want to make it lighter as we work our way into the center of the canvas. We want to make sure that all this paint stays nice and wet without having these huge globs on the canvas. The large globs will take longer to dry, but we want to make sure the paint stays wet. When the paint stays wet, it makes it easier to blend. If the paint winds up drying too quickly, it just means that the paint's going to kind of stack and layer on top of each other, which isn't always what we want. So I've gotten my edges all painted in. I'm just going to kind of wipe the extra paint off of my brush here. So it's still dirty. I still have some purple on here. And now we're just going to dip just a tiny bit into some of the white paint that we have. And I'm just going to work right inward next to that dark purple, letting it get kind of blended in. A little goes a long way, so I always recommend just start with a little bit and you can always add more. It's much easier to add to a painting than it is to take away, as it is with most things. So I'm just going to kind of finish this up pretty quickly here. And once we finish up with this nice kind of light purple background, I am going to go ahead and clean off my brush for this, because as far as paints go, we do have our complementary colors, typically red and green, blue and orange, and purple and yellow. If you mix those colors together, you get a nasty brown color. So it's very important to rinse your brush in between most of your colors. So once my brush is mostly clean, I'm going to go ahead and pick up my mixing plate again. Instead of going in with just plain orange, we are going to lighten it up just slightly with 1 scoop of orange and 1 scoop of white to make like a nice pumpkin orange. No pun intended. So once I get this really nice light orange all mixed up, I'm just going to kind of rub the excess paint from my brush. And we're going to go right in here. And I'm just going to go right around the edges, kind of go around my oval shape here. And we're just going to fill that in. The reason we're going with the lighter color of orange is so that way we can add some highlights and lowlights into our pumpkin, which is very important because the pumpkins have those bumps and ridges that really need the definition. So I've gone ahead and finished up with just the base color of the pumpkin. Now I'm going to go ahead and just dip straight into my plain orange that is there on my paint palette. And we're going to go ahead and create two little parentheses shapes that are facing each other right here in the middle. So I have one parenthesis shape going this way and one parenthesis shape going the other way, like so. This is to create that first bump in our pumpkin, and then we just follow along, going on either side. So from here, we can go ahead and just kind of lightly blend it in, let the kind of darker orange mix in with a lighter orange, get some really nice, realistic look to it. We also want to make sure with this darker orange that we go ahead and just fill in the back of our pumpkin, really kind of make it stand out. We still want to try and leave just that little bit of an opening left for our kitty here. And this is how we complete the background for this painting. So typically when we have a Pinot's palette painting, we allow the background to get nice and dry because we don't want to add too much paint right on top of this. It's just going to become a big mess. But we take about 5 to 10 minutes to let it get nice and dry. During that 5 to 10 minute break, I like to announce classes and some special events that we have coming up. For example, we mentioned that this is one of our take-home kits available. We actually do have two different kinds of take-home kits that you can have. There is ones that you can sign up for online, register, and then you pick it up here in the studio. But we also have these little pre-made brown bags take-home kits, which are always up here right behind the front desk at the studio for you to pick up whenever you wish. Alongside our take-home kits, we have also been doing virtual live events, which is a very similar method to a Bob Ross tutorial. They've been a lot of fun. My coworker has been doing a few of these, and it's just kind of like what we're doing here. A little Zoom meeting, the artist stays in the studio, you watch Zoom from your house and follow along with the painting. What is really fortunate is that when we were unable to open the studio to the public when quarantine happened, we were able to sell these take-home kits to the point where we were selling about 100 take-home kits a week, which is crazy. We're still selling a lot of them if you guys are still interested, but because, and thanks to people who bought some of those and also signed up for our virtual live classes, we have been able to keep our doors open now after quarantine is slightly lifted. Something else that I'd like to announce is our Painting It Forward events, which are our fundraising classes. How these work is that each time someone registers for this class, $10 from the registration will go towards a charity. I've done one of these fundraisers before where it was for the Wildlife Center, and we had a full house of 50 people in the studio, and we were able to donate $500 to the Wildlife Center. It's a very feel-good event that anyone can participate in. The last thing I want to bring up to you guys are the private parties. Private parties are very popular here, and we can do them just about any time that you can. So private parties include a fully refundable $99 deposit fee from you, and we usually ask for a minimum of 10 painters for each class. What is absolutely wonderful with the private parties is that you get the back room all to yourselves. You can pick whichever painting that you like. You can also bring in your own snacks, food, cake. We only ask that you not bring in your own alcohol because we will provide that for you. So by this time, we usually would let this sit for a little bit longer to still get nice and dry, but for time's sake, I've already mostly finished this painting already, and I'm going to go ahead and show you guys just the last few finishing steps of this painting. So as you can see, we have our cat already set up. A lot of the base colors are filled in. We just need to add some of our white and black details. I'm going to go ahead and start off with the black today. So I have a small brush here with me. Let me angle myself down a little bit. Here we go. So I have my small brush with me, and I'm going to go ahead and just pick up a tiny bit of black there on the tip of my brush. And we're going to go ahead and add in the pupils first to give our cat some life. So the nice little thing with the eyes here, the pupils are going to be very similar to the shape of almonds. So I'm just going to go right in the center here. It's kind of like how we did our pumpkin too, those two little parentheses shapes that just touch. And once you get something that you like with this, you're going to go ahead and just fill that in with some black. Make them look nice and sharp and pointed. The biggest thing to keep in mind is that when you're using especially a smaller brush like this, the lighter the pressure that you have, the thinner the line is going to turn out. The firmer the pressure, the thicker the line you're going to get. So once we finish up with the pupils, we are going to go ahead and just add a little bit of fluff to the inside of the cat's ears here. So I'm just going to press and flick with my small brush, and you'll see that it gets these really nice little fine pointed lines here. Just creates that nice little bit of fluff on the inside of our cat's ear. So that is how we finish up with the black. Now we just have some white details that we need to add in. In the original instructions, with all the little purple spots that are here on the hat, they have a little outline with white to really make them pop. Because right now, the blend of the green and the purple are pretty similar in tone. So we really want to make sure those stand out against the green of the hat. So I'm just taking a little bit of white on my small brush, and we're just going to do just a nice little outline of each dot on the hat. Again, this is where that pressure tip really comes in handy. We want to use light pressure for this to get some really nice thin outlines. If it gets to be too thick, the hat becomes a bit of a mess. So I just have a couple other little spots left to do here. And then we just have one more tiny step left to do. There we go. So I finished adding little white outlines for those polka dots on our little witch hat. The last thing that I want to do here is that the cat looks great on its own, but we want to go ahead and add a little white dot on the inside of the eyes to really make the cat kind of come to life. So with just a tiny bit of white and my small brush, I'm just adding in 2 little dots of white, one to each eye. And there you have it. Our little peekaboo kitty is complete. As we finish up a normal class here at Pinot's, we usually go over some closing announcements, including the fact that we do have frames available if anyone's interested. They are always up on our back wall. You get to pick out whichever color that you like, and we will even help you frame your canvas while you are still in the studio. They're really fun. They really help to keep the canvas nice and preserved and make it look so lovely. One other thing that I especially like to mention to people is that our motto is, you come here to paint, drink, and have fun. We take care of everything afterwards for you. The cleanup, making sure everything's all tidy again. We take care of that. So when you're done with your painting, you're good to go. I would like to go ahead and take a moment to thank everyone for coming here today, and thank you for having me here. I'm really excited to participate in the art talk, and we hope to see you all again here soon and come into our studio for a class. Back to you, Chris.
Yeah, I got a question for you that came in. Where can people find more information about some of the charitable causes that you're backing, and how to sign up for classes as well?
Absolutely. So each Pinot's Palette has their own website. We are FortCollinsPinotsPalette.com, and through there you can always look through some of the events that we have coming up. Each class that we have on our website mentions that it's a Painting It Forward, and it includes all the details there. And from there, you can also register for whichever class you like.
Awesome. Yeah, great job. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, one other thing is that if you're having an issue with the website, you can always call us or come into the studio and you can sign up with us as well.
Cool. Right on. Well, I would like to thank everyone for joining us. Thanks again to Bloom Floral Design Studios and Pinot's Palette Sip and Paint. Join us next month, November 6th, for another Live at Lunch chat. Myself will be participating along with others. And come downtown tonight, First Friday Art Walk. Check out the downtown project that's happening. There's artists out painting window murals right now with a partnership with the downtown Fort Collins Creative District. They're all over downtown right now. And this is in support for All for Fall Roundup promotion and CSU's Get Your Green On promotion for homecoming weekend. Come out, enjoy a nice evening in downtown Fort Collins, and we'll see you next month.